Everyone thinks being trapped is a punishment. Baal HaSulam says it's the only way you become free. In the early 1920s, a Kabbalist named Yehuda Ashlag, known to students as Baal HaSulam, wrote a short but piercing essay. Its title comes from the Psalms, "Thou hast hemmed me in behind and before." Most readers skip past it. They think it's about suffering. But Ashlag was describing something far stranger, the architecture of human will itself. The word hemmed in, surrounded, blocked, confined, appears in the original Hebrew as a word meaning formed or fashioned. Ashlag wasn't complaining about limitation. He was pointing to a paradox that sits at the heart of spiritual work. You cannot choose freedom until you understand exactly what is choosing. Here's the bold claim we're going to prove. Baal HaSulam teaches that your sense of being trapped, hemmed in by circumstance, by other people, by your own nature, is not a bug. It's the engine of spiritual growth. Let's look at the evidence. Exhibit 1. The ego is a prison, but not in the way you think. Most spiritual traditions teach that the ego is bad and you should escape it. Ashlag teaches something different. The ego, your sense of I want, I need, I deserve, is actually the raw material of choice. Without it, you're not free. You're just asleep. The hemming in happens when you realize your desires conflict with reality. You want approval, but others reject you. You want control, but life spirals. You want comfort, but struggle finds you anyway. That collision, that friction between what you want and that's not punishment. That's where you learn to want differently. Exhibit 2. Free will only appears when you're confined. Think about it. If you had no obstacles, no opposing force, no before and behind pushing back, what would choice even mean? You just flow like water downhill. There'd be no you making a decision. There'd only be reaction. Ashlag calls this the bread of shame. If the Creator simply gave you everything, if there were no resistance, no hemming in, you'd receive like a beggar, not like a peer. The spiritual path requires that you earn your desires by transforming them. And you can't transform what doesn't push back. Exhibit 3. The hemming in is actually relational. Behind you, your past, your conditioning, the desires you inherited from your family and culture. Before you, the future, the unknown, the pull of what you think you need to become. You're sandwiched between two forces you didn't choose, and that's exactly the point. Because in that squeeze, something real can happen. You start to ask, whose desires am I really serving? Am I living my mother's dream or mine? Am I chasing money because I chose it or because I absorbed it from the world around me? The hemming in forces the question, and the question is where freedom begins. Now, this doesn't mean suffering is good. Ashlag isn't a sadist, but he's saying that the resistance you feel, the friction, the limitation, the sense of being hemmed in, is the signal that you're in contact with something real. It's proof that you're not alone in the universe, and that growth requires meeting an opposing force. Exhibit 4. Love of others emerges from the hemming in. Here's what most people miss. You can't genuinely love another person until you've been confined by them, until they've said no to you, until they've wanted something different from what you want, until you've felt the limits of your own will reflected in theirs. Real love isn't merging. It's not erasing the boundary between you and another. It's learning to want something for them even when it costs you. And you can only learn that in the space where you're hemmed in by their otherness, their separate will, their refusal to be what you need them to be. So the essay's title isn't a cry of despair. It's a map. Thou hast hemmed me in behind and before, meaning the Creator has positioned you in a space where you're forced to choose, not forced to obey, forced to choose. That's the only kind of freedom that means anything. Most people spend their whole lives running from the hemming in. They think if they can just escape the constraints, the job, the relationship, the family expectation, they'll finally be free. But Ashlag says that's backwards. The moment you stop running and turn to face the pressure, something shifts. You realize the hemming in isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. The obstacles, the people who oppose you, the desires that conflict with reality, they are all part of the curriculum. They're showing you exactly where you're still asleep, still operating on autopilot, still not actually choosing. And here's what makes this teaching so radical. It means you're never a victim. Not because bad things don't happen, they do, but because whatever is hemming you in is being used to wake you up. The question isn't why is this happening? It's what am I supposed to learn about my own will from this? So when Baal HaSulam writes about being hemmed in behind and before, he's describing the exact condition that makes spiritual work possible. You're not trapped, you're positioned. And the moment you stop struggling against that position and start asking what it's trying to teach you, that's when the real freedom begins. The claim is proven. Being hemmed in isn't a punishment, it's the architecture of choice itself. And until you understand that, you'll spend your life running from the very thing that's trying to free you. Subscribe to explore more of Baal HaSulam's teachings on the spiritual life. There's a new insight into authentic Kabbalah wisdom every week.